Again, Reasoning with Reno, thanks. This post, we're going to address the conscience. Now, the reason I'm really excited about this is because say we come into an understanding that, okay, it's reasonable to believe that there's a God. Now what do we do with that? Let's take the next step and see the consequences of knowing God or not knowing God. Now, a personal testimony of how I came to know God real quick was as a 16-year-old, true story, I was doing chores and kind of just, I guess, making my dad's bed, just doing the sheets and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, when people die, when I die, there's got to be something. I couldn't even fathom the idea that there would be nothing. I mean, even if you get an idea of a clear plastic box of nothing, that's still gases, that's still consciousness, that's still something. So the idea of no more food or pizza, no more music, no more nothing, I couldn't fathom that. So, at the end, maybe all of us die and there's nothing. No consciousness, you're just done. Maybe. But the maybe not is, again, as a 16-year-old, confronted with the fact of how I was living, and not very well. The drugs and the abuse of girls in high school is just not a pretty picture. I don't want to glorify that, but that is the true reality of my life that I'm not proud of. But those things help push me to an understanding of I am not living the way God wants me to. And so here's what happened. A gentleman by the name of Kenneth Rawls introduced me to a very clear understanding of the fact that Jesus loved me to the point of actually dying for me. And that blew me out of the water. I mean, he just illustrated very clearly to me that to actually come to know God and not suffer the consequences for my sin, which I already knew I was sinful, and I could go through the list, that's pretty easy, that God would actually, and did, send his son to die on the cross. Now, you've heard that a lot, I'm sure, but let it go past your intellect into your life in the sense of that's for you. And you can respond to that. You're asked to respond to that freely. So that's the good news, that Jesus would do that. And the correct response, of course, is brokenness. My brokenness was an understanding of, whoa, people might be nice to me, but to die for me, that's incredible. So that night as a 16-year-old, when I heard that message, that clear teaching, I bowed my head and asked Jesus to forgive me. And truly a weight, just like a ton of bricks, just came off my shoulders. Just knowing that my sins that I had accumulated over a lifetime were completely forgiven. And now as I reflect back, I think about the words Jesus said on the cross, "It is finished." And when he said that, when we think about that idea of that weight being lifted, that sins being completely forgiven, he didn't say, and he didn't mean to say, and they never would have, it's almost finished. I've done pretty much everything I could do. Now you got to be good and go to church and pray and do all the Christian things. Then you'll be okay. See, that's kind of how we live out American Christianity. We think, well, that's nice that Jesus died on the cross. I believe that, but I got to do my part. And the teaching of the Bible is it is finished. So that's the exciting thing about our consciousness, and that's why I'm addressing you. Is we're going to take a look at your conscience and see for you if you're in that same place of an understanding of your sin. This is a very foundational, basic message of the Bible. If you take a time to read the Gospel of John, it's going to come out that we, as sinners, love our sin, and we hide it, or think we can, but God made our eyes, so we're not really hiding it. And we suppress and rationalize, and we're just the kings and queens of rationalization. We just say to ourselves, well, I do this because, or God made me this way, therefore. And so we make excuses for our sin. But what I want to do right now is just to show you how God sees you and I through the lens of course, his 10 Commandments. Now, when we interacted with each other, most likely when we went through a few of them. But I want you to listen to this very detailed list of the Ten Commandments through the perception of Kirk Cameron, not his perception, but just his interpretation of it, because it gives a real solid understanding of how God sees us. So here's Kirk.